Okay, Be'ez Hashem, continue where we left off. We're on page Yud Beis at the top. Just as a review of what we're talking about here, Chelek Aleph begins with Malchus. The ideas behind Malchus. In order to understand how Malchus has to do with Shabbos, the first thing we need to know is what is Malchus. So he spends the entire Perek Aleph discussing what does it mean, what does Malchus mean. So here in this parak, we so far have seen that the idea of Malchus so far is that Malchus gives a person or gives a whatever thing, lavdavka a person. In our case, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, it gives the ability to take the potential and actualize it, to bring out the kochos that a person has to reality. So we hear in the top of Daf Yud Beis, in Perek Aleph, Chelek Aleph, Perek Aleph, and I'm going to read this paragraph inside, the whole paragraph, because it really brings out this point very beautifully. V'zohi bechina achas mi'inyan mida hamalchus hamuskeret b'poska now v'hu mi'yisoidus haTorah. This is one of the yisoidus of Torah, understanding how Malchus works with regards to the midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We discussed how it's the seventh midah, after listing a whole bunch of different things like Cha, Hashem, Agdula, Agvura, B'Tiferes, 6 midas, and the seventh one is Malchus. Sha'achas mi midos yisbarach hi midas ha-Malchus. One of the midos of Hashem is the midah of Malchus. Zeh ikar tachlis kol binyan ha'olam. Malchus is the tachlis of the entire creation of the world. Shetigla malchuso yisbarach ba'olam. That the kingship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be revealed throughout the world. This is what we say on Rosh Hashanah, that Hashem should be megala His malchus to the whole world. Is what the purpose of the world is. That's what a Kiddush Hashem is. When we're megala HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the world. V'hainu she'etzlo yisbarach harei habekoyach hu b'tachlis hashleimus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has potential for everything. The purest completion that there could possibly be in potential is in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's potential is endless, pure, and complete. He's not lacking anything in the Bekoyach. Dahainu, I'm sorry. V'retzoino yisbarach lativhu b'li gvul. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to just give with no end. He just wants to give. V'ilu habepoyel shel koyach hamidus. However, when it comes to actually actualizing these mitzvah, these midos, the hainu hamida hanikras malchus, that is the midah of malchus. Kava Hashem yisbarach shemipnei chateinu tehei chasera. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, because of our chatoim, so His potential is not brought out into actuality because of our chatoim. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to give, and He has the koichos to give everything. There's no limit at all, but the malchus, the ability to bring that out, HaKadosh Baruch Hu limits on purpose because of our chatoim. Why this is true is not for the discussion right now, but that's the Metzias. V'nikra midazu shchina hakdoisha. Bringing it out bepoel is called shchina. The reason why it's called the Shechina is because Shechina comes from the word shachein, to rest. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu is together with Klal Yisrael, that's when you see all the potential gets actualized. V'zeh inyan Shechinta begalusa. That's what it means that the Shechina is in Golus, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot actualize. Not that he can't. He purposely limits himself to not actualize his potential because we are in Golus, because of our chatoim. This is really the desire of every Jewish neshama, is to bring out HaKadosh Baruch Hu's koyach, to bring it bepoil, to actualize Hashem's completeness in this world, and so that the whole world will see it. This is the purpose of all of creation. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be Megala himself, should reveal himself, not the Bekoyach, the Bepoyach, that we should see all the midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu actualized in this world. Hainu shemidas HaMalchus, Shehiyah Bepoyach, the midah of Malchus, which is the actualizing, Shel Chasto Yizbarach, of his Chesed, V'tifarto, and of his glory, the midah of Tiferes, the Kol Tuvo, all of his goodness, Tishlot Ba'olam Lelo Shum Chisaron. We should be able to see it in the world without lacking anything. Halacha l'maisa. That's what we want. That's the purpose of the world. Ra'az Kuchabrichu. Now he's coming to explain. The name Kuchabrichu is representing the koyach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's representing Hashem's abilities, his potential. That's what the word. That's what Kuchabrichu means. Hainu midoisav shel Hashem Yisbarach shel toiv v'chesed b'li tachlis. All of his potential to bring things out. Vishrinte, and the actualizing, Habepoyel, the Shechina, represents, obviously there's not two things in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the ultimate one. But there are different midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So here he's bringing out the midos that are Bekoyach, and the midos that are Bepoyel have different names. But when we bring out both midos, Kuchabrichu, Vishchinte, the Bekoyach leads to the Bepoyel. All the potential goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give it to the world, and he actually actualizes that. HaBepoyel, HaLamaisa, Shalamidos, Ba'olamo, Yiyu Mi'uchadim, they will come together, Mi'uchadim Betachas HaYichud, to create the purest oneness, that is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring out his midos, and the whole world will see his midos. The whole world will see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world with Chesed, with Rachamim, with Tiferes, with all of his midos. That's what we want. That's the ultimate tachlis of the world. That bringing out is Malchus. That's the seventh midah. That's L'cha Hashem HaMamlecha. The Mamlecha is when we bring out L'maisa each one of those midos. When each one of those midos is brought out b'shleimus, it's the Malchus that brings out each one of those midos b'shleimus. And that's what he says in the next paragraph, starting in the second line, Sha'mamlecha einarak mida miklal hamidos b'soif hashuva. The idea of Malchus is not just another one of his midos. Rather, it is the final midah, the completing midah. It's what completes each one of those other midos. Because as great as each one of those midos, a midah of chesed, Kadosh Baruch Hu's midah of chesed is endless. But do we see it? Is it coming out? The Malchus, the idea of Malchus is that it brings out the midah of chesed. So it completes the midah of chesed. The same thing with Gevura, the same thing with Tiferes, the same thing with Netzach, the same thing with Hoid. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has all of these things, but the potential. V'ki'ilu kosuv, it's as if the pasuk says, L'cha Hashem ha'gdula v'hamamlacha shel ha'gdula, ha'gvura v'hamlacha shel ha'gvura. The Malchus of Gvura, the Malchus of Chesed. Very interesting, because those who say that tefillah at the end of Sfiras HaOmer, a lot of people, especially Ashkenazim, don't say it. But at the end, when you after you say Sfiras HaOmer, there are a few tefillahs at the end, and there we say each day a different midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The last week is the week of Malchus. So we say Malchus shebechesed, Malchus shebegvura. Or say it's yeah. We want to bring out the Malchus of each one, the Malchus of each midah, and that's what it means to bring out the Malchus of each midah, that we actually see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is acting with us with Chesed. We see, it's very clear. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is acting with us with Netzach, with Hoid. And that's what he finishes off here at the end of Aleph, Elakach Muhusa v'koicha shel HaMalchus. La'otzi mikoyach ha'poyel as hamidos kulan, v'lachein nikras gam hamalchus kol sheyesh ba haklolos shel kol hamidos. That's why it's called koil, because it brings out and it completes every one of the other midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the first stage of Malchus. Now we're going to start Beis, talk about the next aspect of Malchus. In Beis, Pinchas explains, he starts off by talking about how Malchus is represented by the moon. What is it about the moon? The moon does not have any light on its own. The moon only reflects the light of something else, the sun. We have light in the darkness at night because the moon does this job for us. If we didn't have the moon, we would not have that light, which we see that in the beginning of the Chodesh, like now, in the beginning of Chodesh Kislev, you can barely see the moon. So there isn't that light from the moon. The moon is what's bringing out the koyach of something else. So that's why he says over here in the beginning of Beis, in the first paragraph, in the third line, Shemidas HaMalchus B'tzida Atzmusa. The idea of Malchus on its own, Be'emes Ein La Shum Mahus of Hagdar Mida. It itself is not its own Mida. It doesn't have anything from itself. V'kach gam nikras b'loshun Chazal Les La Migar Makrum. Doesn't have any of its own essence to it. Its whole job is to reflect and to bring bipoil, to make it happen lamaisa. But it itself is not adding anything from itself. It's only making the other midah happen. So he's bringing the koyach of gura. Now we have gura. We bring the koyach of chesed. Now we have chesed. But it itself is not adding anything to it. It is only purely that midah, and it brings out that midah. That is the purpose of Malchus. This is what he says at the end of the first paragraph. The mamish inyan ha-Malchus bo'olam hazeh hadoime l'layla. It's compared. This is what Malchus does in this world which is compared to night. Really, the essence of a Kodesh Baruch Hu is hidden. Is hidden in the world. Al zeh ba inyan Malchus shamayim upoyel shegam ba'olam ha'choishes yizgala yichudo yizbarach b'shlitaso halacha la'maisa b'ramenu. This is what Malchus is supposed to do. It's supposed to bring out the Malchus shamayim that we have in this world. Here in the next few paragraphs, he explains how's that done. How can we bring out the Malchus shamayim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world? So he brings 3 examples. The first one, which he said already, the moon. The moon represents bringing out the koyach of the sun at night. You can't have the sun around at night. You would have the sun at night, it wouldn't be night. But the HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to be day and night. But yet he still wants it to be the light of the sun at night, which is representing that this world is like night. But even though it's like night, we still want to have the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu at night. So we need to have some kind of in-between that brings that light into the nighttime. But it has to be something that on its own has nothing. Because if it's on its own, it has something, then it's not purely bringing that thing, it's giving its own. So we have that's what the moon represents. The moon does not have its own koichus. It doesn't have its own light. It is purely bringing the light of the sun to the nighttime. Obviously, it's not the day. It's still different than the day. It's not the sun itself. But Lamaisa, that is what it's bringing. It's bringing out the light during the day. Now, he brings 2 other examples of this. In the next paragraph here, he brings Malchus Beis David. But this is what the tachlis of Malchus Beis David is. That it's supposed to bring the Malchus of Hashem Lamaisa. The world is supposed to come to a kara of a Kodesh Baruch Hu through Malchus Beis David. As Hashem, we should see Mashiach soon. But the whole purpose of Mashiach, we're waiting for Mashiach, but we're waiting for Mashiach because Mashiach is supposed to be Megala Kodesh Baruch Hu to the world. It's not Mashiach, it's Hashem. It's just the Mashiach is the Malchus Beis David, which is the Malchus that brings the Kedusha, the midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'poel. That's what the tachlis of Malchus Beis David is. And that's why he says over here that Shlomo Melech sat al Kisei Hashem. There are those who learned that this means that he actually not only ruled over the earth, he actually ruled over spiritual things also. He ruled over Malachim, he ruled over Shadim. But Lamaisa, the Pshuto is that the whole point of the Malchus is to bring out a Kiddush Hashem, to bring out the Midos of Hashem. And that's what he says here at the end of the second paragraph, is that Mamish Midos HaMalchus, the less lo migama klum. The king himself shouldn't be, it's me, I'm building myself. No, the whole purpose of the Malchus is to bring out the Midos of Hashem. V'rak derech HaMalchus mitvate ba'olam shlitas Hashem yisbarach. That's the second example that he brings. The third example that he brings is this is actually the purpose of Klal Yisrael. V'chein Knesset Yisrael b'kloseh hi inyan HaMalchus. The pasuk says that Klal Yisrael is a mamlechet koyanim b'goy kadosh. We are the representatives of a Kodesh Baruch Hu in this world. That's what we are. We're a nation of Kohanim. Even though we're not all actual Kohanim to do the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, but we are klapping the whole world, the Siman of a Kodesh Baruch Hu in this world. Hashem wants to bring His Koyach Lepoel. How does He do that? He does that through the Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah to Klal Yisrael so that Klal Yisrael could keep the Torah and the whole world could see Hashem through the way that Klal Yisrael acts. That's the purpose. That's why Klal Yisrael also is begeder, or should be begeder, Malchus. Because that's our tachlis. Our tachlis is not to take we shouldn't be for ourselves. It's me. That's why the greatest person to live was Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe Rabbeinu, that's exactly what he was. All he was to bring Kavod Shemayim. Just to bring Hashem's word to Klal Yisrael. When Korach came up against Moshe and said, "Who are you to take everything for yourselves? You gave it to your brother. You don't care about the people. We're all holy. Why do you take it for yourselves?" So Korach had a point. We are all holy. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, "What do you want from me? I'm a nobody. I'm a nothing. You're not arguing with me. I'm not doing anything for myself, and everything is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm just doing what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. There's nothing from me." That's the purest kli. All I'm doing is reflecting what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. That's the purpose of Klal Yisrael. That's what we're here for. To bring out something much bigger than us and not of ourselves. So these three things, the moon and Klal Yisrael and David and Malchus Beis David, all are things that be'etzem, even when we look at them, we're all small. We're all less. David HaMelech, it brings the pasuk says that David was the smallest of all of his brothers. Right, Moshe Rabbeinu said that.
No, Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Nachnu ma."
Anachnu ma, what are we?
Then Abraham said, "Upper ba'efer."
Right?
After something. Then David said, "Nima,"
right? What am I? He said, I'm very low, and that's where he brings a different pasuk that says that David was the youngest of all of his brothers. So Moshe was also the youngest. It's true. And the moon also is called the Mu'or HaKatan. And here, instead of Klal Yisrael, he brings Yaakov. Yaakov was also Yaakov Beno HaKatan. It's the smallness that can bring out the bigness. That's what he brings over here, that Rapinkus brings, that all three of these are mentioned in Kiddush Levana. We say in Kiddush Levana, we mention all three. We say David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam in Kiddush Levana. Obviously, Kiddush Levana is all about the moon itself. And he brings that Yaakov Avinu, Yaakov who represents Yisrael, Yaakov is Yisrael, comes from a Rosh Tevos that we say, in the Psukim that we say, Baruch Yotzrech, Baruch Osech, Baruch Konech, Baruch Borech. You take Baruch out, so it's Yotzrech, Osech, Konech, Borech, which is Rosh Tevos for Yaakov. And these things are deep things that come from holy books. But the idea of all three being brought in the Kiddush Levana is that the Shefa of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Hashem sends down is through the small things. When we're small, we can represent, we can give something bigger. We ourselves are nothing. Malchus, the midah of Malchus be'etzim is nothing. All it is that conduit, that pipeline that brings out the shefa and brings it to poil. So in the last paragraph here in Halacha Beis, he says like this: Mikol ze lamanu yisoid noisav be'inyan Malchus. From this, all this we learn another important fundamental of the idea of Malchus. V'hu inyan deles la migarma klum. That the idea of Malchus is that Malchus itself is not a midah on its own. The whole idea is just to bring out the light of the thing that is representing. Try to understand the amkus of this. The mad lesla migarma klum ein ze chisaron v'hitma'atut. It doesn't make you chaser that you don't have anything. It's kind of like a funny thing. If a person doesn't have anything, so what does he think? He thinks, I'm a nobody, I'm a nothing. I'm a chisaron, I'm lacking everything. He's saying it's not true. It's not true when you have nothing. So I have nothing. That means that I'm lacking? No. So that is the beauty of it. If the moon would have light on its own, it wouldn't be able to reflect all the light of the sun, because by definition you would be seeing something else as well. You'd be taking away from its job if it had something on its own. If it had something on its own, it wouldn't be able to reflect. It wouldn't be able to bring out the greater thing. And here at the end he brings a beautiful, beautiful mashal. The mashal that he brings is to a mirror. A mirror reflects exactly what it's shown. When does the mirror not reflect what it's shown? When it's not pure. When there's something else on the mirror, when the mirror is warped a little bit, when there's a stain on the mirror, when the mirror is shaded, if there's something else about the mirror, then it doesn't give an exact reflection. You want the mirror to have an exact reflection, there can be nothing else on it. Nothing connected to it whatsoever. It cannot have it, and that's when it can do its job. So, its lacking of anything is actually its godless. That's what Malchus is. When a melech thinks, I'm coming for myself and I'm doing, which is what Malchus seems to be in the rest of the world, or what it looks like in the rest of the world, is just an individual who decided to take control, or has a big army to take control, and because of that he just indulges himself. He doesn't bring out the midos that could do good for the nation. Doesn't do that. The Malchus that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought into the world, that he uses the conduit, the Klal Yisrael, of the Malchus Beis David, and as a representation, the moon, it's those things, it's their smallness, it's their lack of anything else, which is what their greatness is. That is an extra milah of Malchus. Now that we add to the first milah of Malchus, that we're bringing the koyach la'apoyah, now we're saying, not just we're bringing the koyach, a melech has great she'ifos, he wants to bring out things, and now he can. The idea of Malchus is now you can bring it out. What are you bringing out? You're bringing out yourself. Real Malchus, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, real Malchus is not that I'm bringing out myself. Real Malchus is that I'm bringing out something greater than me. And the ultimate Malchus is that really I'm bringing out what Hashem wants, and the poyo of what Hashem wants. That's what real Malchus is. And we have another couple minutes. I just want to start Harav Perek Gimel, where he's going to start another aspect of Melech. Maybe we'll start from this again next week, but just to bring the idea out in the beginning. There's something special about a Melech. A Melech wears a keter. What's the point of a melech wearing a keter? A keter is considered to be something significant. It's something that raises the king above everybody else. The king is raised above. Yes, he might have fancy clothing, but a lot of people have fancy clothing. A crown? You don't wear a crown unless you're a king. I even think that there was, when they crowned King, what's his name, Charles, in this past year, there was a crown they put on him that he only wears that one time at the inauguration. That's it. And he has a different crown that he wears the rest of the time. He only wears it this time. Nobody but a king wears a crown. A queen mare wears her crown, whatever it is, but the king is the one wearing the crown. That's it. The king is above everybody else. So this is the beginnings of this idea. We'll get to Be'ez Hashem. We'll start next week, Be'ez Hashem. What is this idea that the king is raised above everybody else? That's what the keter represents, that he is special and above everybody else. What does that mean? What's the purpose of that? So Be'ez Hashem, we'll start with that next week. Shkoyach.